So in today's agenda, we're going to be talking about what to confirm with your registrar, just to make sure that you have the information you need today so that you can start planning for September 2018. Randall is going to then walk us through expectations from an auditor's perspective to help you with your ISO 9001 2015 audit. Randall is going to also talk about the key changes that were made into the standard that were published in September 2015. And then I'm going to walk us through some of the problems and traps that you can expect to encounter and give you a few suggestions on how to actually go through that so that you're as effective as possible with your certification implementation. Lastly, we're going to also be talking about some tips to help you get ready for ISO 9001 2015. And then we'll wrap up with some questions from the audience, and that will be our plan for today. So in terms of what to confirm with your registrar, there's a few things that you need to talk about. First of all, you should verify when is your 2008 certificate going to expire. So this is really to help you to understand how much time do you have to actually prepare, especially for those people in the audience that maybe are still seeking ISO 9001 2008 certification to begin with. So if you're still going down that path to get certified to that standard versus 2015, registrars will only continue to be issuing 2008 certifications for a set period of time. The next item to consider is when will the registrar stop issuing certificates? So this is again about that point I was making earlier. You need to understand how much risk there is in your business. You need to make sure that you're addressing any concerns internally. There might be some additional planning that needs to take place to help you move to the new standard. You also want to talk about any training that's available on the new standard from your registrar or other sites. You want to make sure that you're leveraging training content that's available. Maybe your registrar might have courses, or you're working through ASQ or another organization to help you and your team prepare. You might also want to consider working with management consultants to help you work through your implementation and transition to the new standard. The last thing that you want to confirm with your registrar is the time required to actually perform the audit and what is the scope of the audit for your ISO 9001 2015 certification. So this is, it's a pretty much a major certification audit versus just a surveillance audit that would be done on an annual or every other year. You're going to be auditing your entire management system. You want to make sure that you plan accordingly. It could take up to a week, for example. You want to have all the resources in place at your organization, including all of the supporting information, documentation, completion of all the training activities that are required to help you transition to the new standard. So that's something definitely you want to consider as well with your registrar. So with that in mind, Randall is now going to take over. Just bear with me 1 second. So Randy, you should now have a presentation.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit on how to prepare for the transition. Obviously, I can't give you specific requirements because then that would be consulting, but so we're going to keep everything in general terms. But what the auditor would expect when they show up at your door for the transition audit is that at some point in the future you have performed a gap analysis. And what that means is we want to make sure that you've looked at your system, compared the new requirements of the 2015 standard to the current system, which would be 2008, identified where the shortfalls are, and corrected them. The second step is then to stress test your system. And a stress test is an internal audit. So once you've done the gap analysis, corrected the shortcomings, you then perform an audit. And the audit will tell you if those gaps have truly been addressed or not. The third part is to make sure that you have an implementation plan and a timetable set for it. Because what you don't want to do is wait until a few days before your registrar is going to show up to try to do all these things. having been in the business a long time, I can tell you that when I show up at a site and their internal audit is dated 2 days before I got there and their management review is dated 1 day before I got there, I know I'm going to be in for a long audit because they're not really maintaining their system. They're just doing enough to try to pass an audit. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that starting now, you have a timetable laid out saying, okay, by this date we're going to have this done, by this date we're going to have that done, by this date we're going to do our management review, by this date we're going to do our audits, by this date we're going to have another management review to cover the results of those audits, and we would be fully prepared for the registrar. I know that one of the points that Peter brought up was you may have to conform sooner than you think, and I can tell you that for TUV, we are not going to be doing any audits to the 2008 standard after May of 2017, and that's the stop of mass rush of people at the end of 2018 trying to conform. So we're expecting to see people start to turn their systems around as of May 2017.